Hello, my name's Michael. Um, I feel a bit scruffy. It's my first video on Opus Dei. I am English. I'm from a Scottish family, Irish family. I was a lay member of Opus Dei between 1995 and 2004, living in places in Glasgow, men's centres in Glasgow, London, and Oxford. I want to release this podcast now in the wake of an article from Antonio Cundy in the Financial Times on the recruitment of young children by Opus Dei, how it still goes on, and want to give you my backstory, tell you how I got into Opus Dei, one anecdote of when I witnessed the grooming of children, which I regret not speaking out about before, and what I think, why I'm taking legal action against dioceses, Catholic dioceses, for not supervising Opus Dei, and what I think can be done, not to destroy Opus Dei, not to humiliate them, but to help, to lead them away from their problems, lead them into true freedom. Sounds idealistic, naive, and maybe it is, but that's the kind of guy I am. All right. So, a bit about me. So, my parents were my birth parents. It's an important distinction. My birth parents were Catholic, but not married, and I was conceived out of wedlock. And it was decided that I be adopted at birth by a Catholic family through the Catholic Church. It wasn't my birth mother's decision, but that was wrong. It should have been her decision. Anyway, it is what it is. And as an infant, I don't know, the same day as I was born, I'm not sure, but pretty soon afterwards, I was placed for adoption in the Crusader Rescue, which is now the Catholic Children's Society in the Archdiocese of Westminster, okay, which I later lived in as an Opus Dei member, okay. Anyway, sadly, my adoptive family, my adoptive parents weren't able to look after me very well. They and my sister as well, adopted a bit later than me from a different family. They lapsed into alcoholism. Things difficult. My adoptive mother died at age 9. My adoptive father never got better, and he died when I was 20. I was adopted again at the age of 10 with my sister. Anyway, you can see I'm just giving you a bit of a picture of my emotional vulnerability as a person as I grew up. Okay, I was lucky and blessed. I had an adoptive aunt and uncle who gave me stability and the things I needed to be educated and looked after from the ages of 10 to 18, and I'm still blessed to have a lovely relationship with them even now. So anyway, when I was 21, I decided at university, I was living in the Catholic chaplaincy. I was still a very active Catholic throughout my childhood. I was an active Catholic, a believer. And I decided to get in touch with my birth mother. I don't know, I was very unmoored. I wasn't very stable at that point in life. And I decided that was the answer. Okay, and of course, you can imagine that wasn't the answer. Okay, but I did that, and I went back to the Catholic Children's Society in London, told them that's what I wanted. They kindly wrote a letter to my birth mother's last known address, and to cut a long story short, we did get back together again. There was a reunion, and we stayed in touch. Anyway, that there's a story there, but I'm not going to go into more of that at the moment. But 1 year later, I also contacted my birth father through the same Catholic organisation, and again I got in touch with him quite easily. But both sets of parents happened to be living in the same place 21 years later. So then, I went up to Glasgow after university to do voluntary work. It was a big change from the south of England. And then while I was in Glasgow, I stayed in contact with Catholic youth movements, and through that, got introduced to Opus Dei at the age of 22, 23. Okay, so you can imagine there, even though I wasn't a minor, you know, looking back at the young me, I can see, yeah, that's a very vulnerable boy there. Very vulnerable boy. It's got a very traumatic early life, gone through these major reunions, you know, without counselling. Unfortunately, at that time, the Catholic Children's Society didn't offer counselling. So, so it was difficult for everybody, okay, difficult for everybody. So you can imagine the whole range of feelings from different people's perspectives, you know. Anyway, so I don't know where I was processing that. Somehow I was processing it through being a Catholic, spiritual activities, doing my voluntary work. Okay, but when I got in touch with Opus Dei Glasgow, I very quickly fell under the influence of the priest there. And the priest, as far as I know, would have been somebody who was recruited very early, probably as a minor. Okay, I can't be sure about that, but he was one of the early ones, close to the founders, Monsignor Jose Maria Escrivá. So anyway, he pretty much made sure I abandoned any ideas of like being a priest or anything like that, and was guided into the way of being a numerary. And as soon as I started to have doubts, very soon, like within weeks of saying I want to join, just straight in. You know, anyone who sets their hand to the plough and looks back is not fit for the kingdom of God. So he came out with heavy guilt stuff, and that locked me in for 9 years. That locked me in. You know, not just him, but people throughout my time in Opus Dei, giving me the fear of hell. And so when you do fear hell, when you believe in the Catholic Church's teachings, you heaven and hell, and someone's telling you very clearly, if you leave, you're risking hell, then vulnerable people are not going to find that easy to deal with, you know. It's an abuse. It's a terrible spiritual abuse, okay? But I've forgiven him, and he would have been, I think, I'm pretty sure he would have suffered the same abuse as me when he was young, but even younger than me, okay? So to cut a long story short, I was in there for 9 years. At the end of that, the last place I was in a boys' club in South London called Kelston, Nightingale Lane in Wandsworth, and that is a recruitment ground for young boys. Okay, so a large proportion of the English members of Opus Dei, the celibate numeraries, came through Kelston. They would have been groomed very early on through boys' club activities and asked to join from the age of 14 and a half onwards. Okay, and you know, there was a public announcement by Cardinal Hume on that and other issues, saying they shouldn't do that. They should involve parents and whatever. When I was in Opus Dei, I never saw that article, you know, and I remember a couple of dismissive comments about he doesn't understand or whatever, and I knew really that there was no real intention to respect that throughout the time. So whatever you hear from Opus Dei's press office or anybody in Opus Dei about the taking on board external feedback, just know they can't do it. They just can't. Okay, they're stuck. Okay, and there's a doublespeak going on. Doublespeak that's even hard for them to acknowledge inside. Okay, and the same for me when I was inside Opus Dei. So it's hard to explain. You just can't explain it till you're out. You can't understand it till you're out for some months, and reality comes in. So there's no point discussing these issues with people inside Opus Dei. No point getting an official announcement. You just won't get any kind of reality from them, okay? And that's very hard for them to accept. They'll hate hearing that if they're watching me. Sorry, I don't mean to hurt you, but it is truth, and it's important because we're talking about the lives of young boys. And so about 2003, 2004, right at the end of my time in Opus Dei, I remember very vividly a get-together where one of the main leaders in Kelston Club showed a video, and there was a boy, 15, 16, who was the son of a supernumerary, so a married member, and he would talk to us as though he was about that boy, as though he was already a member, and that was his way of saying, he's definitely going to join. Okay. And it jarred at me, I will never forget that. I never forget that very vivid memory. And I don't remember many specific instances in Opus Dei. That was one. I didn't speak out. Looking back, yes, I should have spoken out. God knows the pressure I was under and how difficult it would have been and how useless it would have been there. Maybe I should have spoken out sooner than now. Okay. Got help, got the kind of help I needed after I left, and they're able to speak like I am now. So that's certainly a massive delay on my part in being open about that. But that man who was talking in such strident terms about how this boy was joined, had already joined, he was recruited as a minor as well. So what did he know? He's not a stupid man. He's very able in many ways. I think I didn't impress him. I think I was a mess most of the time as Opus Dei. I thank God I was such a mess. I couldn't recruit anybody. My efforts were so transparent that I just gave up after about 1 minute. I never got involved in recruitment of boys. I did enjoy the Boys Club activities. So, and they were, even the internal directors of Opus Dei didn't expect me to recruit boys. Okay. So I was clearly a difficult case for all sorts of reasons. And I thank God for that. It's easier for me to speak freely because I don't have that guilt. I don't have that complicity. Lots of other things I've done wrong, for sure, yes. But in that particular instance, in Opus Dei, thank God I was such a mess. I didn't recruit anybody, wasn't close to recruiting anybody. So recruitment is the name of the game, and collection of money. Recruitment and collection of money, they are the two central aims of Opus Dei, which is very sad because actually there are some beautiful ideas there, which there are some people in Opus Dei who do want to live those ideas, who are free, okay, are free. But anyway, the reality is all these things have been going for a long, long time, and the diocese, Catholic diocese, find it very difficult to deal with Opus Dei, okay. The canonical, so the church law situation Opus Dei is completely irregular. I mean, that's something for another podcast. Put it this way, it's like McDonald's, okay. It's like they've bought, imagine a McDonald's gets a franchise from the headquarters. It can use the name McDonald's without any accountability whatsoever. We've got the name, yes, we'll do whatever we want, okay. Anybody doesn't like our poison burgers, tough luck. They're the best ever anyway. It's your problem you don't like them. I'm going to complain to head office. Oh no, it's fine. No point you complaining to head office because we've got the name and we've got a complete immunity. That's not the canon law reality, but that's the practical day-to-day reality of Opus Dei. They are a law unto themselves in the Catholic Church. The law, they shouldn't be. There are many ways in which the Church could take action. Even under the Opus Dei's own statutes, it's possible for the Church to inspect and do things to hold Opus Dei accountable. Those statutes are completely out of step with canon law, but even they allow that. The reality is Opus Dei make it extremely hard, really difficult to allow any kind of meaningful accountability, okay? So you'd be pushing it uphill and you wouldn't get the support from the top, from the Vatican, okay? So no wonder they just throw their hands up in the air, say whatever. But so think, well, it's not nice. Why are you suing dioceses, failing to supervise? Okay. Well, the reality is, I was a layperson of Opus Dei in there for 9 years, and I didn't have a good shepherd. Okay, I didn't have enough good shepherds to say to me clearly, Michael, you need help. We can't help you. You need other kinds of help. This is not working out. You're not free. Nobody was there. It was there. Okay, so I was a lost sheep. I really was. And we go back to the Bible. Parable of the lost sheep. The good shepherd he left the 99 safe sheep in the open country, and he went looking for the lost sheep. Okay, and that is the job of a bishop, of a pastor, of a shepherd, not just to make sure that 99 are safe, but to go and look for the one lost one. Okay. Jeremiah 23, not one will be missing. Okay, so God doesn't miss anybody out, and that's the job of a pastor. And the way things are set up in the church is that the lay people, and to be honest, also the priests, if I'm honest, do not have a good shepherd. The lay people of Opus Dei do not have a good shepherd. Yet, at the same time, they are lay people in the diocese, and like anybody else in the diocese, the bishop has a duty to them, So they're not different. They're not a different kind of lay person. You can't have that. It doesn't exist theologically for there to be two types of lay people. That's what Opus Dei want. Okay, but and they only got it for 1 year in 1982. Before the Canon Law Code came in to say clearly, well, actually, even then, before then, it wasn't in line with Canon Law. But Opus Dei is a unique creature that has some theological aberrations in it. Let's put it that way. Need to be sorted out, but the church has never sorted them out. Pope Francis is doing something in the last couple of years, though I don't have enough confidence in Pope Francis that he will take enough action, because I think that it needs more things than he understands. And that's my personal view. I'm willing to talk to him about that if he wants. So I have written to him. So let's hope that he answers. Anyway, so I'm setting out in my legal cases, small claims courts and county courts, so civil court claims. I'm setting out that the bishops of the diocese had a duty of care to me, to rescue me, like the shepherd who found the lost sheep. Okay, so I'm saying that in tort law, the law of obligation, the law of tort in England, the duty of care of a bishop, that they assume that duty of care, it's not an accident, is that of a good shepherd. It's a very high duty, extremely high. Interestingly, one of the main cases in English tort law, Donoghue and Stevenson, talks about the neighbour principle. The neighbour principle is based on the Good Samaritan story. So this is a House of Lords binding judgment. So every single court in the land has to follow the neighbour principle. So, and Lord Atkin, 1932, was not afraid of using biblical precedent for that. So I'll try it myself. I'll say that the duty of care in tort law is the same as it's set out in canon law. That's canon law is my factual evidence to support that duty of care. And I'll say then that the bishops failed. They breached their duty of care because they just didn't turn up. And also they didn't really pay attention to Cardinal Hume's 1981 statement, in which he warned of the problems of recruitment and of not being able to have access to guides to priests outside Opus Dei. So Opus Dei make it very hard. You just cannot be free to go and have confession outside for the non-Opus Dei priest, or to have spiritual direction. I know that the church law says it. Opus Dei will say, yes, of course you're free, but we choose not to. The choice is not a real one. You know that when you leave, okay? But you can't. You're not. It would be terrible spirit. You'd be ostracized. It would be difficult for you if you tried to exercise your true freedom as a layperson in Opus Dei. Everybody close up to Opus Dei knows that, okay? But you can't. It's difficult to deal with the official line, which is the truth, the reality that under church law we are free, okay? The official line is that we are free, and the reality is that they don't permit that freedom in social ways, emotional ways, spiritual guilt ways, making you feel as if you did step out of line, you're risking your salvation, So that's what's going on. That's very deeply ingrained in you in all sorts of ways. So so what's this freedom? What's this true freedom for people in Opus Dei? Well, the reality is, to be free, you need to be led by people who are free. Okay, that's the reality. And how does that happen? I don't know. Well, I do have some ideas. I think it will be difficult for Opus Dei people, especially the numeraries and assistant numeraries and the celibates, at the beginning to be guided by people outside Opus Dei. They're just not going to have that trust and that understanding. But there are I do know personally, I remember personally, there are mature, wise spiritual guides inside Opus Dei, people who are more free, more mature, who've worked through stuff, okay, who navigate the reefs and find their way, probably get frustrated with the system. There are those out there. So there are ways in which there can be a gentle guiding towards freedom. It does need external supervision, though, from spiritual directors, from people outside Opus Dei, other in the religious groups. Needs a lot more input from the rest of the church. Really, Opus Dei do act like a church unto themselves. Very difficult for other people to get in there, and for Opus Dei to learn. Opus Dei just thinks that it's got something to give everybody. Go on, give you. It's very hard for them to accept. There isn't the mechanisms for them to accept. We lived a very enclosed life. It's like being a desert cloister somewhere. And we went out to kind of mission. So, but that's not church life. That's like being in the SAS. You've got these missions, special missions to rescue people. That's something James Bond. It's not real. It's exciting, but it's not. But ultimately, it's not human. It's So I would like Pope Francis to set up a lay association to cooperate with the prelature under Canon 296, which was not run by people in Opus Dei, because they're not going to do it right, unfortunately, not yet anyway. Okay, they're going to, and no church organization should be completely run by itself. That doesn't make sense. There's got to be a cross-fertilization, a mutual support, different perspectives, different nations, whatever. So I would like Pope Francis in my country anyway, in the UK or England. I know they're different. Scotland run differently to England, but in Opus Dei, England and Scotland are pretty much run together. But I would like Pope Francis to set up a lay association for the UK, including people who are like me, who have left Opus Dei but who have a heart to help those in it to get to freedom. And I say, when I get to freedom, I don't mean they're going to leave. Now you realise. I don't want. Freedom is what it is. It's not me. It's not my idea of freedom. They might have a different idea of freedom, and that could be to stay in Opus Dei, and that's fine. And if they do, if the people that stay in Opus Dei and they're all free, they're going to flourish. They're going to attract people. So, like the restaurant is going to serve better food and people that want to come. So rather than having a chain of 100 restaurants that serve rubbish food and say how great it is and how bad everybody else's food is, you're going to have start with a smaller group, smaller restaurant, and it will grow organically. That could happen. I don't know. It's everything to play for, really. It's up to the people in Opus Dei if they want to find their way to freedom or not, and to be humble enough to accept the external supervision. And at the end of the day, I think if Opus Dei just refused to accept external supervision, then the church should insist on it. And at the end of if the diocese continue to refuse to accept their responsibilities for Opus Dei, and the Vatican don't care, which seems to be the case so far, then the civil courts are my remedy. God can use all sorts of different people, different situations, different institutions to help. So I have no qualms about using the civil courts, even as a negotiating tactic. So at the moment, my case against one of the dioceses is ongoing, and I have told very clearly the solicitors for the diocese, for the bishop, I'll go all the way to court. I will cross-examine the bishop on his duty of care to his flock, okay? And I'll quote Bible at him, like Lord Atkin did in 1932, Donahue versus Stevenson. I won't have any qualms, but I don't want to do that. That is very aggressive, okay? But if there's no meeting, if I can't meet them beforehand, if there's no reality, unfortunately, their solicitors have told me that Opus Dei is self-governing. What? It's Catholic and it's self-governing. How does that work? And where did they get that from? If they got that from the diocese has really got no clue about the Catholic Church. I don't know. Maybe they made that up themselves. But I've got a letter from a firm of solicitors acting for a certain diocese telling me that Opus Dei is self-governing, has its own moderator. That's a Protestant term. Where does that come from? Just don't get it really. So we're really heading. From my perspective, I want to make progress on this. This can't go on forever. We can't have a maverick Catholic organisation roaming free, causing all sorts of damage for endless times. I've been too late in getting my act together to take action on this with my legal background and my understanding of Opus Dei. Vatican, I don't know what's going on in the Vatican. How is it Opus Dei can run riot like this? Is there money involved? If there is, we should tell us. Opus Dei fund us. If that's the case, just be honest. Say we've got limited room for manoeuvre because we depend on their money. If that's true, or if it's not true, tell us that as well. Okay. Because it does seem like that. Honestly, it does. From the outside, it looks like they've got such a sweet deal with the Vatican because the Vatican need their money. Tell us, please. Or say we can't do anymore. Transparency. That's all we ask for. And I don't know what it takes for the Vatican to become transparent. If the Vatican was a public institution in my country, it would be in special measures. There'd be, getting any kind of procedural transparency from it is just impossible, really. Anyway, sorry. So I'm not against the Vatican. I'm frustrated with them, and we do need to work with them. They've got their issues, okay, historic issues. No pope can do exactly what they want. Pope Francis is trying to make a difference, is trying to make, get things through. As far as I know, does understand Opus Dei to some extent. I don't think he understands it fully because he's not been in it. He's not left it, okay? So he does need to speak to people who have left it, who have dealt with their past, who are not angry anymore, and who want to care, and who want to lead, and who want to make a difference. So there are those people out there. I believe I'm one of them. I've been extremely blessed that through forgiving the people who hurt me in Opus Dei, God has healed me very radically, set me free from the anger that I had towards them. And I did have anger, and I suppressed it for a long time. And I'm so grateful that I'm free to do the things in my life now which I couldn't do before. Okay. So I very much appreciate you listening to my ramblings. If you have any questions, you want to contact me, I'll put an email address in the comment in the description, and I'll answer any questions. And if you do put a comment and any personal reflection, I'll say a prayer for you. All right. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.